Your love is perfect.
Well, you better check your time. 28 minutes after 10 in the morning. And of course, brushing shoulders with the National Director and Baguio Site Director of the Global Leadership Summit Baguio, Pastor Sol Digia. I'm going to play a video. I was able to capture this from your Facebook name again. This one talks about solely all about the Global Leadership Summit Baguio. And of course, to get your backgrounder about this matter. Yan, eto po siya.
Excelente todo, cada orador.
Excelente, de hecho esta es la primera vez que asisto a una cumbre y hasta ahora lo que he visto ha sido de mucha bendición para mi vida.
Una expectativa de aprender más de grandes hombres y mujeres que Dios está poniendo para poder seguir creciendo y aprendiendo.
Aprendí muchas cosas y algo de lo que más me impresionó fue una palabra clave que decía que somos bendecidos para bendecir.
Cada presentador, la organización de todo el equipo de ustedes, una organización de primer mundo y créeme que han dado por muchas partes de México, de toda la República en conferencias y desde cómo los tratan a uno desde afuera, cómo te reciben, cómo cuidan tus carros, todo, cómo te atienden aquí, de primer nivel.
Y algo que me gustó fue una palabra clave que también dijo Carla, es que hay que ser auténticos, siempre ser nosotros mismos y enfocarnos en las personas. Y una de las cosas que decían uno de los conferencistas es que hay que ser valientes, entonces yo creo que y decisivos, hay que tomar la decisión de venir y aprender.
Congratulations again for your team here in Baguio City for bringing internationally it happened and now it's locally to happen in Baguio. So, past when we were talking while the mic was off, you know, we saw so many different countries a while back.
That's right.
And what makes it more exciting, because this is going to be in Baguio already,
Yes, yes.
like days from now.
Yes, yes. Okay, that is Mexico. What we just what we saw in the video was Mexico, and it's amazing because as I posted like stage preparation and the likes, I hear comments from India, you know, saying, you know, counterpart GLS, directors in India saying, good job, you know, we're praying for you, or Luis Pinto, the South America kind of regional director, just saying wonderful preparations, you know. And it's so good to know that this is not just a local movement, you know, this is a movement of people and people groups hungry to learn from each other and make leadership a commodity, not as something that you just kind of buy into, but something that you can take through life, right? So we're privileged to bring it in Baguio, although it's in a video format. You will be amazed. You will be amazed how it can impact you, because the material, the content, I think the content is the most important thing there, right? It's just like, it doesn't matter whether it's John Maxwell who kind of signed your book or you just bought it in a local print, because the content is the same.
Better to sign is Pastor Sol de Guia.
So what I'm trying to say is, please give the summit a try, and your life will tremendously be impacted by realizing how you yourself can be an impact to your community.
All right, so Pas, these are our speakers for the summit.
Yes.
Here. So how many
That's right.
speakers in total, Pas?
We have 8 speakers in total.
8 speakers.
Yes. But tremendous amount of material, because we would like to put in more, but of course the time, right? The time. I think what we should appreciate in the local or Philippine context, because some people would say, well, how can we learn from a video? Well, to tell you the truth, surprisingly, I realized that I was impacted more when we brought the video here rather than when I was in Illinois watching it live. Because in Illinois, you don't have time to process it, right? One speaker after the other, no, even if you have the materials, you can't write down, nuggets of truth that impacted you, because it was so fast. But here, we give you a time to process. You are guided in the process items, and you get an opportunity to really see and hear what it's all about. So I think that's a tremendous opportunity for learning. Really, we made sure that the environment is a conducive, place for learning.
Oh, good. Pas, is this your huddle group that you meet on Mondays at Gateway?
Yes, these are a group of people that meets, to learn about leadership, and tremendously, because a lot of these people, in fact, this huddle group itself produced 3 pastors.
3 pastors?
Yeah, who just randomly came, wanting to learn, and realized, as they are there, that there are like indicators, predictors that points them out, that kind of made it clearer to them, in terms of how God is calling them into ministry.
Right, good. Pas, how important is your family? Like, you're so busy.
Yeah.
Like, you hold seminars, you go to DSWD, later on you're going to be rushing to join in another camp again. Then these guys, it's so nice to watch you guys eating, doing fellowship, exchanging opinions, doing brainstorming.
One thing that I do, I think this is my personal kind of choice, but I believe in this. I believe in family. Right? That in spite of the accolades or the places you've been and people you rub shoulders with, you will always go home. And at the end of the day, you have to understand that failure in the family will never ever be compensated by success outside the home.
Wow. Pas, I like your liner. At the end of the day, you will always go home.
Yes.
Pas, so many listeners, new listeners. Parocha just joining us today. Norte Libes,
Hi.
Sandor Fianza, Benson Lagman of Upper San Carlos Heights, Perlita, Bayucan Goron, Rolly Dacanay of America, Lester, Mascom students, Lester Villanueva, para sa Suwal, Lou Garcia, who's, I guess he might be in Singapore or in Metro Manila. Here, Pas, here. I like this one. You therefore must endure hardship as a good soldier of Jesus Christ.
One of my favorite verses. Now, learning is not enjoyable. Really.
Okay.
You want to learn more, you have to be prepared to hurt more. Because, example, reading a book alone, it doesn't matter if you have the capacity to buy a book. But it's always tedious to sit down in one corner and read it. Very few people, I think only with the exception of my good friend, Dr. Anthony De La Fuente, who said, his book is one of his enjoyment. The very fact that he could smell a book, that gives him a different thrill. But how many people are like him? Honestly, I would buy a book, and it would probably take another 2 or 3 months before I'd pick them up and read them.
Exactly.
But you have to understand learning is not just reading a book. You have to interact with people. You have, as I've said, the moment you venture into an organization or relationship, be ready to be hurt. Because there will be challenges, relationships, systems, structures will be challenged. And a better leader, kumbaga, weathers the storm regardless, making sure that he takes the boat home.
All right, good. Here, Pastor, this one happened in Manila, was it last year?
That was last 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
So, what were the highlights, Past?
Well, it's amazing. This happened, at GCF South Metro, Green Hills Christian Fellowship, one of our good friends, partner of GLS, and kudos to GCF and my good friend Mike Duco, and of course Dr. Bailon, who is the psych director, or marketing director, I should say, of that place. That is tremendous experience. People came, braved the traffic, how Manila is, and just they came there to learn. We even have students coming. High school students who were so enthusiastically wanting to learn leadership, and it was a great experience.
Here, Pastor, when a leader gets better, everyone gets better too.
Definitely. You have to understand that we produce who we are.
Yes.
And chances are, more often than not, is that those that we lead are clear reflections of the leader that we are. So if we get better, rest assured, they will get better. Maybe not 100%. Maybe not all of them will be better as you are, but rest assured, someone in the group will get better because they find you as a prototype of who they want to be. You have to understand, people follow people, according to Maxwell, that they believe are stronger than them, or stronger than them, I should say, because they want to be like them.
And with due respect, I was also one of the recipients of your leadership trainings a long time ago, right? I'm of course, it's been how many months unable to go to church, but still, I belong to
I remember when
church.
You were writing your thesis.
My very prime consultant. I would bring my paper. I would ask for questions. Why? Because, Pastor is into academia. Here, Pastor, this one was way back in March, GLS Day 2. What were the highlights back then, Pas?
Well, this is fantastic because at this point in time, the people were kind of all pumped up, with the first series of sessions that they've heard. They were either fired up, challenged, or at best, put into a reflection mode. And when Day 2 came, that was kind of the real highlight because it was where one ought to make a challenge, and the particular challenge that was made was a call to self-commitment, right? To remember, an important call, that God may have just set apart specifically for you, an authentic call.
Here, Pas, by Andy Stanley, you have no idea the numbers of people that God may want to influence through you.
But you have to understand that, I'm a firm believer that God sets a person into this world, not just to pass through this world, but at one point in time is to leverage his existence so that others may benefit from it. So when one commits to leadership and the excellence therein, one is actually also giving others the opportunity to desire the same. And for generations to come, you have to understand that a great leader outlives his legacy, or is outlived, I should say, by his legacy. Matagal ka nang wala, pero pinag-uusapan ka pa rin.
Matagal na akong wala. Matagal na akong di nakaka-attend. What about this one? You were with Congressman Mark Go. What happened here? This one was a breakfast meeting.
Yes,
I suppose.
Yes, it's more of a personal connection. Kuya Mark is actually a GLS alumnus. There were a couple of GLS meetings that we had. He was not a frequent comer because, of course, of his responsibility. But during the early days of GLS, he would come and that was prior to him becoming a congressman. And we would talk, and he's a good friend, and he would ask me certain points on certain issues, and we would talk about, and most of the time we talked about the value of good leadership. And I think that was one of the things that prompted him, before running for the third time, and eventually winning the slate. Is Baguio needs good leaders. Right?
And Baguio needs good trainers like you.
Yeah, if that would be our place or our drop contribution in the bucket,
Yes,
that is
Past.
something we will willingly take.
Long time ago, Past, you were with handsome people. Are these pastors like you, Past?
These are ministry contemporary friends. That's Dr. Conrad of PCM, a good
okay.
friend of mine. That's Pastor William of Zone Ministry. Of course, Pastor Eddie Razon, who is actually in the academy teaching young pastors to be better. And there was still on my jogging outfit. I just came from a workout. And you have to catch up with your health, not make sure that you're on shape to do this job. So anyway, those are good friends who constantly kind of, as we say in the Bible, iron sharpens iron.
Like it.
So
Iron
I
sharpens
do
iron.
not believe, personally, this is a person. There is no monopoly of leadership. It's amazing, in spite of how far you have gone, that still there's something you can learn with those that are around you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our very pastor, Pastor Sol Deguia, National Director and Baguio Side Director of the Global Leadership Summit Baguio. Here, Past, I like the caption somewhere below. Here, the secret to mastering worry and fear, Global Leadership Network.
One of the trust of the summit is not just to train leaders, William. We have gotten further. We have started organizations, NGOs, LGUs on far-flung countries, poverty-stricken nations from Africa, to war-stricken, places, in the Middle East, providing water, providing aid, providing, personnel, helping people, enjoy at least get the piece of blessing that they ought to, as we develop leadership. In Uganda alone, we have Catherine Kanjina, who reformed the entire revenue system from being corrupt to being, an honest revenue collecting, institute or, government branch, and it changes the entire nation. And we have other places, from Chicago, Choco de Jesus, who kind of braved welcoming in prostitutes, rescuing them from white slavery and giving them opportunity for new life.
Wow.
And he came to his church
Amazing.
one time just saying, if you have a farm, give it up. Can you just imagine? And people gave a facility, and they started this kind of rescue facility for women who are abused or are